Let's get into
ladies
some
and
deck
gentlemen,
profiles.
It is I, backed by unpopular demand, Dushan.
By
the creator of
unpopular
Dragon
demand.
Warriors and all that stuff, you know.
There are so far
I'm
3
back,
deck profiles
and,
on the
Dragonverse channel for those
Dragonverse
who are
main
first-time
channel.
watchers.
So I'm going to go
This
through all
is
3 of
the,
them, not in order.
Combined channel of the
Mainly
Dragonverse
deal with
members,
Spooky, and
which
well, they held up
will
there
just
in the
post some
video, so I'm
Dragonverse
holding up
stuff
mine.
from time to time. Now, this is going to be a mini-series for this channel. Well, a series, not a mini-series, but a series called Dragonverse Deck Profiles, on which we go over the decks of the Dragonverse characters.
I'm not saying what the deal was, just to be clear.
We can also make updates about it, where
Me and Spooks
talk about the upgraded versions of the decks that will show up in like later seasons once those decks actually debut and stuff like that, and also showing if the characters have multiple.
I wonder
decks,
how long till this is outdated.
Show the decks they used, like all of them.
It'll be outdated
So
when
for
I
this
script
episode,
the next door
I'm gonna be talking about
the card in my deck.
Duki Rykoto deck for Season 1 of Dragon Warriors, which has 2 versions for Season 1.
Really?
And I will go over each of them.
2 versions. I was wondering why this is 24
we'll
minutes, but if you're going over 2 decks, that makes more sense. Plus a 60 card deck.
So just know that these decks are not like 100%.
Yeah, not
They're
okay.
more like blueprints for stuff like scripting, because you might notice that there's some stuff that
missing.
there's some stuff missing that you've seen a character use in the show. Like for example, there's no Pot of Desires or Hope for Escape in this deck, which you've seen in episode 0. And that's because those cards were there for the specifically for the script. The decks mostly exist so we can.
Not to mention that was a prequel, so we could have taken them out in the meantime.
And also so we can have like a blueprint to work off of for when we're making these duels, for when we're scripting.
Okay, we need to set in stone that
so that's one recommendation I can make for anybody who's
plays
starting
synchros, just so we don't forget.
If you have access to Pro via phone or PC or anything like that, make sure to make the decks for your characters there. You don't have to like put every single card you'll have them use in the deck. Just make a blueprint for the deck that you can play with. Just make a deck that you can play with and use it as a blueprint for your scripting. And just
you won't see it coming.
Add in some cards that you need for the.
What you gonna do when I ritual summon Solomon Great Emerald Eagle in Raid Raptors?
Don't make a mistake of using like a too specific
I'll die.
card. It is like exactly for this kind of situation. There's something generic that works in the situation. I would go more into that, but that would take forever. So,
yeah, why is Kaiba run
let's just go into the cards.
For the
First
Merrick
of all, as you
duel
can clearly see, we have Junk Giant here, who's if your opponent controls a level 5 or higher monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it doesn't matter if you control cards or not, you can just special summon this guy as long as your opponent has a big guy. The synchro summoning of a monster cannot be negated as long as this card is used as a material.
Which is
and if a player synchro summons using this card as material,
from my experience,
the other player cannot activate cards or effects when that monster is synchro summoned. So like this bypasses stuff like Solemn Judgment, Bottomless Trap Hole, that kind of stuff.
Get bent.
So it's mostly there because it's a free level 6 that can special summon itself if the opponent has a correct type of monster.
Pretty dang handy if I do say so myself. And
next up we have Junk Dragonlet, which is a newer card that got printed. It's a card from the manga, which is better than its manga counterpart, thankfully.
Easily.
If you control Synchro Monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. By the way, this is the last card that was drawn in the duel of in the FST duel of Duki versus Gary. the card I bricked with and lost to.
I'm not spiteful in the slightest.
Yeah, this was also the version of the deck that I was using for that FST, just so you know. But yeah,
how'd that Cosmic Flare feel?
It's special summon, obviously, because if you control Synchro Monster, it's just a free level 5 that you can summon to the field as a beat stick if you need it, or for another Synchro summon. But it also has a graveyard effect where you can banish this card and your monster gains 800 attack.
Where it's like, I named this card Dragon.
Yeah, it's there also for a battle trick.
Dragon out.
Then we have the older
outlets on the side. Wouldn't those be called plugs?
Damn, what's wrong with my speaking? The old reliable Quick Draw Synchron, who is a substitute for any Synchron monster, so he can go into any of the junk monsters, any of the Synchron warriors.
You're making a junk deck and don't have a Quick Draw Synchron in your deck. Why are you handicapping yourself?
Like specifically Synchron tuners.
That's like making a branded deck and being like, I'm not gonna put in branded fusion. But why though?
Plus special summons himself for free. Then we have Hyper Synchron, who's just a generic level 4 tuner.
It would be generic if it wasn't for its hindrance.
And all that, but for now,
you're Dragon Gate's 800 attack points. That's good. And it gets banished at the end phase. That's bad.
For the story. For now, he uses Hyper Synchron as a level 4. Though that's not the only level 4 tuner option that we have in the deck, because it's time to introduce my favorite duo. That's Junk Servant and Junk Changer. This two, you've probably seen them a few times being used in my Yu-Gi-Oh shows, but just let me explain.
They are
basically Stardust Trail and Stardust Synchron before Stardust Trail and Stardust Synchron. Junk Servant has an effect where it can special summon itself if you control a Junk monster. Well, from the hand, of course.
Yeah.
So, like, you control any of the Junk Synchros, any of the main deck Junk monsters, you can just special summon itself for free. Then there's Junk Changer, who can change the level of a Junk monster you control by 1. So you can either make him a level 2 or a level 4. So that's always gonna be, with these two, always gonna be a easy way to go into a level 8 or a level 6 Synchro, which is why I love these two so much for scripting. It's just always a free level 8. You can also go for a free level 6, but I just tend to lock into a level 8 because those usually help. But they can also go into level 7s like Black Rose down there. We will go about the extra deck a bit later, but of course. For now we keep it on this. So then we have the Junk Synchron. Obviously, you can't have this kind of deck without Junk Synchron. He's the meat and potatoes of the deck, essentially. We all know what he does. Brings back a level 2, then Synchro Summon into a level 5, or if you have more monsters, level 8, stuff like that, you know. We all know what this guy's used for. So,
yeah.
The same thing goes for Junk Forward, who just special summons himself if you control no monsters. So, he's just a free material. Then, we have Drill Synchron for our Drill Warrior, because, you know, sometimes we're just not gonna have Quick Draw in hand, because, you know, it's a one-off. Because he's searchable in this deck, and also he's not always the right option. Sometimes we need something else. And Drill Synchron is generic, unlike Quick Draw Synchron, who can only be used for the summon of one of the Synchro Warriors, one of the Junk.
Yeah, that is a bit of a hindrance from Quick Draw, but I also don't give a flying
is there is another way to Drill Warrior, and also as a generic level 3 that you can use with something like Junk Forward or one of the level 2s that we have in the deck.
Is it a hindrance sometimes? Yes, but I also don't care.
If you control a Dark Monster,
which is an interesting choice to add to the deck. I see why. It's just like Calico Crow, huh?
Doppel Warrior, who we usually bring back with Junk Synchron, but can also special summon himself from hand if you
and bring out tokens to get run over easily.
The same thing goes for Satellite Synchron, who does the same thing, but can also modulate
that wasn't necessary to bring out
his
Satellite
level,
Warrior, but I guess that's what power or creep over time does. Like if it was made back in like 2011, absolutely.
That is, if you control
Satellite Warrior would need Satellite Synchron. But since it's more like in the 2020s. Yeah,
then there's Junk Converter, who gets us into our Synchron shenanigans, and if used for a Synchro Summon, revives any of our tuners from the graveyard for more Synchro shenanigans. We have Rush Warrior, who is just honest for the deck, because we do have a lot of Warrior Synchro monsters in the deck, so this card helps out a lot. Reiko the Lightstorm Hunter, because I like the card. It's just a flip monster, which is very slow and whatnot, but considering the fact that this is pre-Pendulum 2014, I guess it's still somewhat acceptable.
In the year of our Lord 2014,
it's like hack format, I guess, stuff like that. So it's acceptable. Plus, it's just a level 2 Synchron Carrier for our extra normal summon for a Synchron monster.
I wouldn't have
a Synchron Explorer to bring back a Synchron monster from grave.
I don't get
and Junk Anchor, who serves the same purpose as Quick Draw Synchron, being a substitute
arguably better
for a Synchro Summon of a monster that requires a Synchron monster. However, unlike
it can revive stuff.
Quick Draw Synchron, he's also generic, so he can be used for anything else. However, he has no special summon effect, though he does have an effect where he can bring back a Junk monster from the grave and then immediately conduct a Synchro Summon, using him and the monster you revive with his effect.
Very handy card.
So, he's a pretty interesting and versatile card for scripting.
Yes, agreed.
And also fulfills a similar purpose to Quick Draw Synchron. Next up, Jet Synchron, because as we all know, this card is very good.
Yes.
Junk Mail, which is another copy of Jet Synchron. Might as well.
Another thing where it's like, you're real?
But Junk Mail is interesting because it also has an effect that it can give to a Synchro monster.
In the manga, that was its entire effect. Can't be destroyed by your synchro monsters making this thing can't be destroyed by battle.
Tuning work because it has its own level modulation, so it can be either a level 1 or a level 2.
We're not very useful, but at least it wasn't too much to read.
You just draw a card. So this plus any of the level 1 tuners go with Formula Synchron Pot of Greed. And if you have TG Hyper Librarian on the field, that's like 3 cards. So
you have Pot of Greed.
Then we have
got TG Hyper Librarian.
2 copies with just a free special summonable level 1.
Pot of Greed.
You can only control 1 copy, but if you use 1 copy for a summon, then you can just summon the other. Swift Scarecrow because it's just a battle trap. Effect Veiler.
Hashtag unban Pot of Greed. So for one day solely so I can see all the Yugi tubers melt down and then immediately ban it the next day.
Monsters, Rota because this deck does not have enough searching. Trust me.
Clearly.
There's no other cards that search. Don't
Absolutely none.
Of the deck.
Yeah, no spoilers.
The opponent's monster. There's better cards. We have Snatch Steal and we have Change of Heart. We also have Brain Control. But I personally just like Mind Control. It's one of my favorite cards.
It's more
then
fair.
We have Dark Hole because Board Wipe. We have Secret Rumble, which is one of the newer cards that came out, which is just Return of the Dragon Lords for the deck. So you can target a tuner or a level 7 or 8 Dragon Secret monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense mode. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon monsters from the deck, from your extra deck, except Synchro monsters. And just like Return of the Dragon Lords.
So it's Return of the Dragon Lords.
You can banish this card from your graveyard to protect your monster from being destroyed by battle.
Hey, guys, bring back tuners, so that's pretty neat.
Then we have Stardust Shimmer, which is, well, a monster reborn for a Synchro Dragon, which is only really used for
It's good to not see the same card over and over again.
Fairy and Stardust Chronicle, so might as well be running regular monster reborn, but
why not?
Whatever. It's a more interesting card. Then we have Tuning, which just free search for a tuner Synchron monster. Synchro Overtake, another way to get into a Synchron tuner monster.
And it has a picture of the Synchron monster you're never going to play, unless you're role-playing as you say Fudo.
Eclipse for, flipping everything face down to prevent the opponent from going into extra deck plays and stuff like that.
Until your opponent gets to draw a bunch of cards.
This is a very specific battle trick where if a Synchro monster is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Synchro monster you control. You can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. Also, if you activated this card by targeting a Synchro monster with Warrior, Synchron, or Stardust in its original name, you can make
but imagine card games on
equal to the attack
horseback.
of one Synchro monster in the graveyard, and you can activate only one of these cards per turn. So if you, for example, just target Junk Destroyer with this when a Synchro monster was sent, he's just gonna attack twice. But if you target something like Nitro Warrior or Stardust Spark Dragon, not only will it get 2 attacks, but it will also be able to gain the attack points of one of your other fallen synchros, so it's a neat battle trick.
I'll say.
I just noticed that I don't have Concentrated Current here. I'll add it later, but just remember that
Concentrated
Current is meant to be in this deck.
Hey, it didn't work for Flare, so why would it work for you?
Discard a card, destroy spell and traps. Starlight Junction, because it has an effect where it can bounce a card if you synchro summon on your opponent's turn, which is mostly used with stuff like Formula Synchron, or in scripting with something like battle tuning or synchron transmission to synchro summon on the opponent's turn and get a free compulse. But also it can help when you have a synchron monster that you don't need and you want to replace it, so you contribute 1 tuner and special summon a synchron monster from your deck with a different level than the tributed monster. And that does not mean just synchron tuners. You can summon any synchron. You can summon synchron carrier, synchron explorer, any of that, as long as it has synchron name,
your mom.
it's live. Then we have Stardust Respark, which when your opponent declares a direct attack, if the attack of the attacking monster is greater than your life points,
you're like, that's nice.
Draw
anyway,
a card,
start
then
to
cheat out the
the
Stardust monster from your extra deck. The only
whatever,
card you can't bring out with this is Stardust Cypher Divine Dragon, but you can bring out Stardust Chronicle and Stardust Spark Dragon, Stardust Charge
different version of it, I don't know.
Though I would not recommend Stardust Charge Warrior because it is not treated
the
as
version.
Synchro summon.
So about right.
Yeah, you don't get a free draw, so it's better to summon like
in that case,
regular
it is
Stardust
funny
Dragon,
when you're trying to do this and you summon freaking
defense draw, similar mindset. You take no damage plus you draw 1 card. Shooting Star, you control a Stardust monster, destroy 1 card on the field. Just
IRL Duki is screaming and he doesn't know why.
It came out in Duelist Nexus, and it's a pretty decent card actually. Target the monster on the field up to the number of synchro monsters with different names you control. Return them to the hand. So it's
get the frick back there.
except it can send multiple monsters back to the deck.
It earned its name of
Reanimation Wave. It's a battle trick and a monster reborn for one of your synchro monsters, depending on the level of the attacking monster and the level of the synchro monsters you have in your graveyard.
Plague Spreader Zombie
Prison
hates
is
itself,
just a
considering
pre-banish
those are both
during the
monsters
battle
that
phase.
it
If your opponent attacks, reject Reborn. It can just be an attack. When your opponent declares a direct attack, you can end the battle phase, and that's usually enough. But considering the fact that it can also special summon you a tuner and a synchro monster from your graveyard,
but better.
Well, with their effects negated, which doesn't really matter. I'd say it's a pretty good card to run in the deck.
Easily.
For the scripting purposes, of course, as most of these cards are. Following, another pretty decent card, because not only can you, when you target a monster, synchro monster you control, it becomes indestructible by battle or card effects. Also, if it battles a level 5 or higher monster, you can just destroy it, and your monster gains attack equal to the original attack of the monster destroyed. So, not only does it protect your monster, it can also serve as a pop, depending on what monster you battle with it. Fiendish Chain, it's a negate and an attack stopper. Synchro Zone, which is, well, a
just don't use it far too late, like player did.
In general, because it also allows you to bring back some of your synchro monsters from the graveyard. If they're sent to the graveyard, you can just bring them back as synchro tuners, which is helpful to some extent.
Gone to the extra deck yet. I mean, I just
you
feel
can
like
also
this is
send
the
this
other
card
deck.
from your field to the graveyard
isn't it? Okay,
to
bye.
perform a synchro summon, which again works with stuff like Starlight Junction, and finally Solemn Warning.
Because Solemn.
It's a pretty nice generic card. Then for the extra deck, we have obviously Formula Synchron, it's just our synchro tuner plus draw cards. Armory Arm, because it's just equips to a monster, gives them a power boost, and it gives them ability to do burst damage or Flame Wingman effect. Then Junk Warrior, because he's the GOAT. TJ Hyper Librarian for more drawing. Stardust Charge Warrior for more drawing, but also he can attack multiple monsters.
Which is fun.
Drill Warrior for direct attacking and also recycling monsters from grave. Ancient Fairy Dragon for special summoning more bodies to the field. And also getting rid of like bothersome field spells and whatnot. Black Rose Dragon to nuke the field!
I like that this is Duki's
Nitro Warrior because he's pretty good for battling monsters. Stardust Spar Dragon because it's the ace of the deck, plus it has its own protection effect, so it can protect anything. Junk Destroyer because he pops up to the number of materials used to summon him. Colossal Fighter, the biggest hitter of the deck.
Satellite Warrior,
an even better Junk Destroyer who can also recycle your warriors, synchron or Stardust monsters from the graveyard with different names. Stardust Chronicle Spar Dragon, the penultimate monster of the deck, who makes himself a towers once per turn by banishing a monster.
It's also
and
the
can
size
also bring
of the
back
earth.
a banished dragon-type synchro monster once it gets destroyed by battle or card effect. And finally, the big boss of the deck, Stardust Cypher Divine Dragon, who is a monster negate. After he negates an effect, he can pop a card, and while he is on the field, literally everything you control is protected from being destroyed once per turn. So
you ain't doing shit.
Him and then like I don't know, Nitro Warrior and Junk Warrior. All of them
just like show me what you got.
Hit multiple times in order to be destroyed, like twice per monster. So like I don't know, Smashing Ground, start a Cypher, and you would have to do it again to destroy it. Regeki everything, and you'd still have to like individually destroy them. That kind of stuff.
That was
and
so
in the side deck, we have some
like
cards that are going to be either used later in series, or cards that are going to be used for scripting specifically, like Revolution Synchron. He's gonna get that card later in the show. Turbo Synchron, who is well, therefore Turbo Warrior, who are both script cards because sometimes they might be interesting to use. Dragon Knight Draco Quest, who is like a secondary ace monster to Duki when Stardust Spar Dragon is not really cutting it, then this card can also be very helpful. Road Warrior, which should really be the main deck card, but I personally run it in the side deck as just a script option, who just special summons a level 4 or lower machine or war, a level 2 or lower machine.
4 or lower would be busted.
Extend your synchro summoning.
Could you imagine?
Signal Warrior, who can be a towers, who also gives you advantage depending on how many signal counters you put
Road
on
Warrior
it. And if you have a field spell in the field, it's going to be even more counters, so you can like win in time, I guess, with 800 damage, draw a card or pop a card.
But if it was
then
generic,
oh
god,
Dragon Knight Draco,
a long time ago.
Scrapfish specifically for Junk Warrior for when needed. Synchro Transcendence because it's an interesting script card again. Just like many other cards that are in the side deck. Target one
Where's
Synchro Monster.
Greed?
Your opponent controls special summon one Synchro Monster is one level higher than it from your extra deck, but it cannot activate its effects
Which
this
is basically
turn.
Pot of Greed, but for Synchros.
Just a
sort
free
of like
special
Greed
summon
Grotto.
from the extra deck. Just cheat out your extra deck monsters with this. They can't activate their effects this turn. That's fine. Especially if you're summoning something huge to the field. Then we have Clashing Souls, which
It's a great artwork.
you should totally watch that gacha video. It's made by Trinity Studios. It's pretty good. Oh wait, no, I'm talking about the card. This card is a nice battle trick that I can use for scripting as well. Same goes for Dragon King's Myth.
I just thought they're just like, okay, random name generator, go.
Plus Dragon King's Myth is just better. Synchro Chase is another interesting card because it can bring back your Synchro cards that you use for Synchro summoning. And also your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to your Synchro monsters.
It is also funny
that we have Synchro Material
like, hey, wait,
transmission for scripting purposes, for
Hold
Synchro
on.
summoning during the battle phase, and using your opponent's monster for the Synchro summon.
It's funny.
And then there's the other version of the deck, which is pretty much the same. It has some differences. Like for example, in this one we have damage die. To cut the damage in half, we have Forbidden Lance to make our monsters unaffected by spells and traps, but also to like lower the attack points of the opponent's monster. We have replaced Quick Draw Synchron, so we can have Wheel Synchron and we also have 3 copies of this. And also we replaced him because he can treat himself as a non-tuner for a Synchro summon, and also he can be special summoned because. And also he can give you an extra normal summon. We also can have Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon because it's a pretty cool card and it's a very good card. We also have even more cards in the side deck this time. Some of the cards that we've previously seen in the deck, but this time also some cards that we haven't. Like for example, Synchro Dilemma. You can send one Synchro monster from your hand or face a field, special summon a monster from your hand. So it just replaces one of your Synchrons with something that you might need more.
Pretty much.
You can target one card you could control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon one Synchro monster with a different name from your hand or graveyard. So both effects allow you to regain materials or to change the situation to whatever you need. Then we have On Your Mark, Get Set Duel, which
is a fun card. I love the art.
Which helps to draw more cards. Plus, with these being more slower games, they can go into a grind game to draw more cards. Cosmic Flare to get rid of threats that you can't get rid of by battle. So, like, you can attack with Sword Spark Dragon, he survives, but the opponent's monster is shuffled back into the deck.
Ace monster.
We have Limit Overdrive for the sake of like cheating out more Synchro monsters.
Cliche. It's like, yes, actually, please give me more. I want
Greed
Grotto,
which is just for
like
Synchro, for the Synchro mirror matches.
Attack name is called. Like, please
we have
more.
Necroid Synchro to cheat out even more Synchros out of the deck. Battle Waltz for spawning out the token, and then Jet Synchron to bounce a card, and also to revive itself for whenever we need it. And that's essentially it. The 2 versions of the deck, both of these versions are going to be used in Season 1, and they're pretty much the same. Oh yeah, this one also has 1 more copy of Junk Synchron in it, so that's 3. But yeah, other than those, well, the decks are pretty much the same. There's not many differtions between the 2 decks.
It's a solid deck that should do really well, especially in scripting. And I like the idea that it's like, it's not set in stone wall, we have to follow,
Duki
but
Rykoto's deck
for the most part, you know,
for Yu-Gi-Oh! Dragon Warrior Season 1. Make sure to let
you
us know which other
it can be flexible for if you write yourself into a corner
in the comments below.
Which
this has been
is very easy to do. I speak from experience, just like, okay, I rid myself of this corner. How do I get out? Well, time to give myself 1 card that I'll never see again. It's the only way out. It's unfortunately, it's an easy trap to fall into. But yeah, these decks are really solid and have a bit more variety of them. I'm not gonna say like, you know, you've seen one junk deck, you've seen them all, but it's like it has a bit more variety of them. I like the Dragon Outlet, the Wheel Synchron, stuff like that. Got a good variety of monsters to go into, not solely the usual engine, and yeah, just cool stuff, really, and cool to see how it goes. I don't know much more to say, I guess just it's a really good deck profile and really good We're to see what all of them do and all that jazz. And I guess get some behind the scenes of how scripting works. It's like, yeah, we have the template, but it's more of a suggestion rather than a rule. As long as we've hit the major beats, we're fine, you know? That's what matters at the end of the day. So yeah. Good deck profile, good deck, and yeah, thanks Duki, and I guess we'll move on to the next one really. Well, at least we will in a minute, I don't know when it's going to be up. You know what I'm trying to say there. So yeah, good deck profile, good work, good cards, and I will see all of you in the next video. Later!